The tennis world is in complete and utter chaos after the reigning queen, Aryna Sabalenka, was just brutally dethroned in a match that defied all logic and reason. A giant has fallen. The roar of the crowd wasn't for the champion. It was for the young, fearless challenger who just refused to lose, refusing to bow down to the overwhelming pressure. History is calling. With this one breathtaking victory, Alex Eala has not just won a match. She has ignited a firestorm and is now just one step away from a destiny so immense it will echo through the ages. The underdog rises. In a display of pure, unadulterated heart, the tennis prodigy has just toppled the unstoppable force, leaving fans and pundits scrambling for words to describe the absolute shock. Feel the energy. The atmosphere is electric, the emotion is raw, and the stakes have never been higher. This wasn't just a game, it was a war of attrition, a battle for the ages. Click now to relive the shocking moment. This is the biggest upset of the year, and you have to see every angle of how a dream was realized and a dynasty was shattered in a single, unforgettable showdown. The stadium hummed with an energy that bordered on reverent. It was the kind of buzz reserved for royalty, for the undeniable queen of the court. Aryna Sabalenka, the fierce, powerful, and seemingly invincible world number one, walked onto the court like a storm cloud, her presence casting a long shadow over her opponent. Every step she took screamed of dominance, a physical embodiment of the sheer force that had propelled her to the pinnacle of women's tennis. She was the heavy favorite, the established titan, the champion who had conquered the Australian Open with a brand of tennis so brutal and beautiful it left opponents shattered. The script was written, Sabalenka would march through this tournament, and this match was simply a formality. But tennis, as we are so often reminded, is a game of glorious uncertainty, played out in the unforgiving arena of inches and split seconds. Across the net stood a figure who seemed to embody the very antithesis of Sabalenka's power, a young, rising star named Alex Eala. She arrived with a quiet, focused determination that spoke of a burning ambition far greater than her ranking suggested. Where Sabalenka was a hurricane, Eala was a calm, still center. There was a palpable weight on her shoulders, the hopes of a nation of millions resting on her every swing. Yet she showed no fear. Instead, there was a profound sense of purpose in her eyes, a glimmer of destiny that seemed almost out of place in such a daunting setting. The first few games were a feeling-out process, a chess match played with explosive ground strokes. Sabalenka's serves thundered down the line, a warning shot of the power to come. But Eala, with a resilience that would soon become legendary, absorbed the pressure, sending back deep, spinning returns that forced the champion to work for every point. She refused to be intimidated, refusing to let the occasion swallow her whole. The early signs were there, subtle hints that this would not be the routine victory everyone had predicted. This was the moment where the seed of doubt was planted, and the first tremor of an impending earthquake began to shake the very foundations of the tennis world. The first set was a masterclass in tension and tenacity. Sabalenka, as expected, drew first blood, her raw power breaking Eala's serve early. The crowd, a sea of red and white flags, let out a collective sigh. This was the fear, the inevitable march of the champion. Yet it was in this moment of peril that the true character of the young challenger was forged. Eala, instead of crumbling, exhibited a mental fortitude that would have made even the most hardened veterans jealous. She held her nerve, showcasing a defensive prowess that neutralized Sabalenka's biggest weapons. Every thunderous forehand from the Belarusian was met with a perfectly angled counter-punching backhand, sending Sabalenka scrambling from corner to corner. The roar of support for Eala grew louder, a deafening wall of sound that began to visibly unsettle the world number one. Suddenly, the cracks began to show. Sabalenka, accustomed to dictating play, was finding herself on the defensive. Her unforced errors, normally a rare occurrence, started to pile up. Frustration began to cloud her face, replacing the usual steely confidence. She glared at her racket, argued with herself, and the aura of invincibility began to dissipate. Eala, on the other hand, was soaring. She broke back, her fist pumping the air with a primal energy that electrified the stadium. The momentum had shifted, the tide had turned. The demigod had been wounded, and the mortal was now on the attack. The set went to a tiebreak, a pressure cooker scenario where one player would crumble. And it was the champion who blinked first. A series of uncharacteristic, wild errors from Sabalenka, forced by Eala's relentless pressure, gave the young challenger the edge. As Eala took the tiebreak, the stadium erupted. The dream was not just alive. It was now a terrifyingly beautiful reality. The champion was on the ropes, and the entire world was watching in stunned disbelief. If the first set was a revelation, the second set was a war. With her back against the wall, Sabalenka unleashed a ferocious barrage of attacks, determined to reassert her dominance. The rallies grew longer, the shots more brutal, and the tension in the stadium was thick enough to cut with a knife. This was the point where the mental giants separate themselves from the pretenders. Sabalenka was throwing everything she had at her opponent. Her powerful serves were now aimed with surgical precision. Her ground strokes were vicious missiles. She was doing everything she could to break Eala's spirit. And for a brief moment, she succeeded. Eala's serve was broken early, and the champion roared, a primal scream of defiance that seemed to signal a return to the natural order. But Alex Eala was not going away. This was her moment, her stage, and she was prepared to fight for every single point as if her life depended on it. The young Filipina showed a resiliency that bordered on supernatural. She began to stretch points out to their absolute limit, forcing Sabalenka to hit one more shot, then another, until the champion's patience wore thin and the errors resurfaced. Eala's court coverage was breathtaking, a blur of motion as she chased down every ball, returning shots that seemed destined to be winners. The phrase, "heart of a lion," is often overused in sports. But for Eala, it was an understatement. She was a warrior, refusing to yield to the overwhelming force opposing her. With every incredible save, every perfectly timed winner, the crowd's roar became a physical presence, pushing her forward. She broke back, and the momentum swung once more in her favor, the tide of destiny now an unstoppable current. As she held serve to force another tiebreak, the expression on her face was one of pure, unshakable conviction. The impossible was now within touching distance. The second set tiebreak was a microcosm of the entire match, a symphony of tension, drama, and sheer, unadulterated will. Both players left everything they had on the court. Sabalenka, a fierce and proud champion, fought with the desperation of a wounded lioness. She threw caution to the wind, going for high-risk winners that, if they landed, would surely seal the match. But Eala's defense was impenetrable. She was a wall, absorbing the power and redirecting it with a precision that was nothing short of genius. Each point was a battle, a grueling physical and mental test that pushed both women to their absolute limits. The tiebreak ebbed and flowed, with mini-breaks exchanged and the tension reaching a fever pitch. And then came the defining moment. With the score locked in a dead heat, Eala produced a stroke of sheer brilliance, a passing shot so perfectly executed that it left Sabalenka frozen in her tracks. The stadium exploded. It was the opening Eala needed. She seized the momentum like a vise, winning the next 2 points with an aggression that matched her opponent's. When Sabalenka's final desperate return sailed long, the result was confirmed. The world number one, the reigning Australian Open champion, the absolute force of nature, had been vanquished. The silence of a stunned champion was met with the deafening, joyous roar of thousands. Alex Eala collapsed to her knees, her face a mess of tears and sweat, a picture of pure, unadulterated joy and relief. The girl who many had written off had just slayed the dragon. It was a Cinderella story for the ages, a monumental upset that would be talked about for generations. The victory was more than just a win. It was a testament to the power of belief, the strength of the human spirit, and the sheer magic of sport. The significance of Alex Eala's victory transcends a single match. This is a seismic event that has, in one afternoon, permanently altered the landscape of women's tennis. For the Philippines, it is a moment of national pride so profound that it rivals their greatest sporting achievements. Eala has transcended the sport to become a national icon, a symbol of hope and inspiration for millions of young dreamers. She has proven that with unwavering belief and relentless hard work, even the most colossal obstacles can be overcome. The entire nation is united in celebration, their collective dream now shimmering on the horizon of a new reality. For Eala, the tournament is not over. She is now, as the title proclaims, one step closer to history. The victory, while a defining moment, is now just a stepping stone. The road ahead promises new challenges, new rivals, and the immense pressure of expectation that now comes with being the giant slayer. Yet, if this match proved anything, it's that Eala has the mental strength and game to handle anything that comes her way. The tennis world, once fixated on Sabalenka's dominance, must now recalibrate its focus. A new star has been born, one who is not just looking to compete, but to conquer. Her legacy, once just a promise, is now being written in bold letters with every shot she hits. Her name will be forever etched in the annals of this tournament, a reminder that on any given day, in a moment of pure magic, the underdog can rise up and change the world. The future has arrived, and its name is Alex Eala. If you enjoyed this shocking sports update and want to stay ahead of the biggest stories in the world, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to World Zone right now. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the action. See you in the next video.